A good life is a sequence of days well lived, and a bad life is a sequence of days wasted. It seems like everybody, especially nowadays, has all these clear goals that they're striving towards, but you don't have that clarity. Well, this video has exactly one objective. You will gain clarity over your goals and be able to define the steps needed to achieve these. People talk about the circle of life, but it's not a circle, it's a triangle. Health, wealth, and relationships, the big three human priorities. The big three rule on health is exercise, nutrition, and recovery. The big three on relationships is family, friends, and female attraction. The big three on wealth is income, investment, and spending. It's literally that simple. If you can solve exercise, nutrition, and recovery, you've solved health. If you solve family, friends, and female attraction, you've solved relationships. If you solve income, investment, and spending, you've solved wealth. That's literally it, the entire breakdown of the big three human priorities. Now, how can you convert this framework into action? It's always the catch. The simple answer is stop wasting your time. I am not speaking of productivity. A life is not wasted in one day. It is wasted and pissed away in weeks and months and years. I was pissing my life away for years cleaning test tubes in a biolab. So trust me when I say I know what confusion, stagnation, and lack of identity feel like. But today I have the ability to travel anywhere I please, make money as a writer, and meet the kind of people who lift me up. If you mentally lock in to this video, you will unlock certain schemas which will help you carve out the lifestyle you want and rediscover the identity you truly have, so that when you are alone, you are not left thinking of what could have been. The first schema I'll give you right now, it is to stop thinking about the dream life, rather to think of the dream lifestyle. I've found it much easier to solve for a good lifestyle than it is for a good life. The reason is because the concept of life is it just has too much baggage. Every religion or philosophy has something to say to the point at which I find it too hard to take any action. I found it much easier to visualize the kind of lifestyle I want to have, and it's much easier to define, it's much easier to take action towards this. In the pursuit of this dream lifestyle, I've found that I met amazing people. I've experienced the stories that are the ingredients for a good life. But first, I have a quick disclaimer. I'm not interested in entertaining you or even educating you. I'm only interested in outcomes. You will acquire practical tools and schemas. I will give you context to these schemas using real life stories. I do this because this is the way our brain encodes information. Stories matter. They reprogram your brain. Before we start, we're going to do the Huberman sigh, a breathing technique that will help you retain the information in this video twice as better. Let's take a quick double inhale and then let it out. So it's like this. So notice what I'm doing, right? It's a belly breath, a chest breath, and then let it out. So let's just do this together. Most people don't know that finding clarity, building structure, and gaining momentum is a process, not an event. It is an ongoing project that every successful man in history has had to learn and practice. The goal of this video is to get you there faster. In winter 2017, my job was cleaning test tubes. I spent entire days transferring frog cells from a cotton swab into a centrifuge tube. I was doing this all day, for weeks, for months even. And I was in graduate school. I was making less than minimum wage. And in the winter, there were entire weeks that I didn't see the sun because I had to get to the lab before the sun rose, and I would leave only once the sun had set. Even though all this would have been worth it if I was actually succeeding, and I wasn't. I loved biology. That was the reason I was in the PhD program. I'd worked myself into this lab that studies human lineages using GWAS. It's kind of like 23andMe or Ancestry.com, but it forms the basis for those websites essentially. We had these weekly meetings every Thursday at 4 p.m. and I hated them. I used to dread them. I used to dread them because, well, my posture used to change and go from the triumphant lobster to the defeated lobster as I got crushed every week. I couldn't perform in this environment because, one, I didn't have clarity. I didn't see a connection between my day-to-day activities and my dreams. I didn't have structure because in a PhD program, you don't have structure. Almost no classes, exams, or assignments. You're just kind of left to figure it out. Third, I didn't have momentum because I didn't have a sense of growth. Research isn't linear. Half the time you feel like you're moving backwards or sideways. I was competing with these fat, neckbeard nerds and these neurotic females for a position that was capped at the six figures, low six figures. I remember thinking, even if I win this, I still lose. And this was when I made the decision that would change my life forever. I hit the emergency button. I decided to join the army. There's this silly saying, which is not true, but it's funny. They say that when a woman hits rock bottom, she becomes a stripper. When a man hits rock bottom, he joins the army. Well, for me, this was my chance. I was going to go and transform in the army. I quit the program the next day. I sent 2 emails and had 2 conversations. In a total of 20 minutes, I had burned years of goodwill and years of progress. I was so sick of living this life that I was conditioned into. I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew that I wanted clarity, I wanted structure, I wanted momentum. I wanted to be around people I liked and respected. I wanted to restart, reset, and reboot. I felt that joining the army was the best way to get this, though of course I was naive at the time. I finished out my master's in biology and got on a flight to Fort Benning, Georgia to be a part of the US Army Infantry. I share this story to show you that you are only ever one decision away from changing your life forever. Now, this is not advice. I'm not suggesting you follow the road that I took. I think army training was valuable to me, but it was also an absolute train wreck. It was beyond retarded. The army had the chance to mold confused boys into disciplined and motivated men, but it fails at that mission every single day. There are absolutely some amazing drill sergeants out there who serve as an inspiration, but the program as a whole was stupid. Still leaves a bad taste in my mouth to think of it. Not because the program was too difficult, which would have been fine, which would have been cool actually, but because the army made zero effort at actually building up its personnel. The actual tactical training, like weapons training, like using the Claymore or M4s, whatever equipment that we were using, that was actually cool. But you may not believe this. I swear this is true. My platoon performed better on week 2 than it did on week 20. We went from eager and ready to learn and grow and work as a team to just counting the days to get out. It was stupid, man. Despite all this, I succeeded in using these months as a training opportunity for myself. I used it as a golden opportunity for transformation. I had clarity. We as a platoon knew our purpose. We wanted to earn the crossed rifles of the infantry. We wanted to earn the blue cord and get the fuck out of Fort Benning. I finally had structure as well. The drill sergeants told you when to wake up. They told you what to eat. They told you when to sleep. You didn't have any choices. You only had 4 sets of OCP pattern camo to choose from. There was no clothing to choose. I even had momentum. I was able to ruck longer distances. My pain tolerance and overall ability to manage stress was clearly improving. I finally had a group of guys around me, though I didn't like all of them, they still made the same sacrifices that I did. I finally had time to think through my limiting beliefs, deprogram my conditioning, and detach from the friends and family who were keeping me stuck in the identity that I had in the past. As a direct result of this introspection, I started my YouTube channel and the business that supports it. For me, I just wanted the freedom to travel, read books, go to museums, play video games, have coffee at nice cafes, meet interesting people, support my family, and build cool stuff with my team. I don't want to worry about gas prices, inflation, and grocery bills. I can say without a doubt that going through the infantry training pipeline was a pivotal journey in my life. During this army training, I maintained a series of 3 black journals. Years ago, I had journaled about the lifestyle I wanted. I wanted to live the beach life in a tropical refugium. I live in Hawaii, one of the most beautiful places, and is home to one of the most beautiful beaches on the planet. I wanted to travel the world to live and meet guys who were on the same path of ascent as I was. I spent the last month in Turkey with 5 amazing entrepreneurs. Every lunch and dinner we had was something that I would look forward to. We had a private chef who cooked up these amazing meals every day. Every conversation we had led to new ideas that I could use in running Crusade. None of this is magic or manifestation. All comes down to cause and effect. Every project, small or large, was nothing more than an idea in a man's head. If you're living a lifestyle that you are not satisfied with, it may not be your fault, but it is your problem. You will now learn the exact schema to impose clarity on reality. It is said that the goddess Fortuna responds only to men of strong will and clear mind. Now you are going to receive the actionable steps. I'm going to give you an exercise to do. Grab a sheet of paper and divide it into two halves. If you're driving or otherwise unable to do this at this time, that's fine, just do it later. The first column should be titled, A Normal Day in 1 Year's Time. The second column is titled, Sacrifices. If you do not sacrifice for your dreams become the sacrifice. This is going to be a key learning, so pay attention. Since ancient times, sacrifice has always been important. The ancient Greeks believed in animal sacrifice and burnt offerings. They were not unique in this belief. The empires of Central America and the Vedic kingdoms are just two easy examples that come to my mind. The Carthaginians sacrificed their own children to their demon god Baal Hamon, until the Roman legions, of course, brought the fires of retribution and vengeance to their cursed city. But sacrifice was never just a matter of slaughter. Even a butcher could do slaughter. You had to perform the sacrifice with specific details. You needed to sacrifice a bull of the right color and quantity. You needed the sacrifice to be conducted by a priest of sufficient power. You needed the right time of day. You needed the right direction of the wind. You needed the right phase of the moon. If you didn't do this right, the gods wouldn't listen, and worse, they would be offended. Now, we don't believe in this kind of sacrifice anymore, but the specificity of the sacrifice, this aspect is important. Sacrifice is a trainable skill, and this video will provide you the basics. You have these two columns in front of you, a normal day in 1 year's time and sacrifice. Under a normal day, you will write out a narrative from dusk to dawn of a normal day in your life 1 year from now from your perspective. Visualize the details in your mind's eye and carry it onto paper. Make sure it is so beautiful that it hurts that you aren't living that way right now. I know there are some of you who will be skeptical of something like this. You'd say visualization doesn't work. Hear me out. I'd like to show you a visualization board that I created years ago. You can actually see the timestamps. You'll see beaches, pineapples, and volcanoes. You'll see food and drink with friends. Some things are still pending, like going on a sailing expedition, and some goals have changed. For example, I'm no longer interested in a Porsche. I would rather get a specced out Land Cruiser. The point is, years ago I had added these pictures as a collage describing my dream life, and now I live in Hawaii, which has, guess what, pineapples, volcanoes, and beaches. I never thought I would live in Hawaii. I had no opinions one way or other as to where I wanted to live. It just so happened because that is what I primed my mind to seek. Here's the key learning. You have to build castles in the clouds before you can build them on land. Even Crac de Chevalier was just a vision, a scribble on paper, before it became the fortress monastery of the Knights Hospitaller. So I take my vision very seriously. Here are some questions to get you started. Pause to think through each of these before you answer. Where do you live? Who do you live with? What's the weather like where you live? What time do you wake up? Do you have an alarm clock? Do you make coffee or go to a cafe? When do you start working? What kind of work is it that you do? How much money do you make per month? How much money do you have in savings? Is there a woman in your life? What is she like? Do you have pets? Do you have kids? What does your dream physique look like? There are no right or wrong answers to any of these questions. And if you have more details and more questions, that's a good sign. It means your imagination is acting. And in answering these questions for yourself, you are training your visualization. You're essentially training your ability to set goals. And that is the step one in actually hitting those goals. The only way you can mess this exercise up is by regurgitating the dream life you heard from somebody else. If you talk about getting a Russian girlfriend and living in Bali because Hamza said so, you're wrong. If you talk about Bugattis and bimbos because Tate said so, you're wrong. If you want to start a school community because Hormozi said so, you're wrong. Write until something resonates with you. Another way you can do this exercise wrong is by thinking small. If your vision doesn't intimidate you slightly, you're wrong. People overestimate what they can do in a day, but underestimate what they can do in a year. If you're actually locked in, if you actually had clarity, structure, and momentum, what could you do? Here's a dream lifestyle I envision for myself. I share this as an example. 1 year from now, I'll live in Rome, the eternal city. I'll host a growth house in the city similar to the one I hosted in Austin, Texas. I'll spend time with guys who have a similar level of experience of life and business as me. I'll get gelato every day. I'll go to the gym with the boys and spend 10 to 20% of my income. This is important for me. I'll spend 10 to 20% of my income on being a patron of the arts. I will commission artwork from real human artists. I will commission music from real human artists. I will increase the beauty of the society I live in and use these artworks and music pieces as a part of my business. I will show the world what it means by the term business as art. I will treat my body as art. After surgery, I'm finally able to rebuild. I will never take my breathing for granted again. I will forge the Bronze Age physique. I don't want you to copy my vision, but if there are aspects of that resonate with you, then you should take them to be your own. Spend time on this assignment. Any time that you spend building your mind, which is your primary asset, cannot be possibly spent in vain. The invisible work that we do today will have visible results tomorrow. Results comes from vision and action, but action isn't just the things we do. It's also the things that we choose not to do. There are no solutions, only trade-offs. This means that to get closer to your goals, there are some things that you will need to trade off. When I sacrificed my fear of being on camera, I was able to grow a personal brand that allows me to do work that I find meaningful. Here's the thing. You cannot avoid sacrifice. You can only choose what sacrifices to make. I will share mine again as an example so you have an idea of what it looks like. Here are my sacrifices for the year of 2025. First, I will make sacrifice of sweat and toil in the temple of iron until I learn to love it. I will rebuild my body and purge the weakness from my body. I will use my knowledge of biology to forge steel. Second, I will make sacrifice of money. I will go broke investing in myself. I will retain an emergency fund, but other than that, I will pour my money into myself and my business, which is of course an extension of myself. I will sacrifice the fears and limiting beliefs that my parents transferred on to me. I will spend a minimum $30,000 in self-investment over the year of 2025. Third, I will make sacrifice of time to make more and better videos. I will spend the time to do real research and real thinking instead of using ChatGPT like all the other YouTubers. You may not know this, but for every minute of published content you see on my channel, there was 1 hour of work in the back end in research, writing, recording, and editing. Most YouTubers who talk about health aren't actually reading the research. They're just regurgitating what other YouTubers say or reading blogs. They're not actually going to do the research because first, to be fair, this is not on them because a lot of research is behind a paywall. Fine. But the second, it's kind of hard to read research papers. You need training to do this. At this time, pause the video and take the time to complete the exercise with the actual specific sacrifices that you are prepared to make. The more specific the sacrifice and more emotional resonance that it has with you, the better. At this time, you know what you want and you know what forces you want to commit to achieve those objectives. So if you don't make those sacrifices, you don't have the right to be surprised when you don't meet your goals. The objective of this video was to give you clarity, not comfort. If you take away one thing from this video, it should be this. If you don't sacrifice for your dreams will become that sacrifice.